Welcome to the Ideas with Impact podcast, where we will dive into the fascinating world of women's health, women in business, women in spirituality, growth, and everything about women. Join us as we explore the stories, challenges, and triumphs of remarkable women from all walks of life. From discussing the latest advancement in women's health to highlighting inspiring female entrepreneurs, this podcast is your go-to resource for all things women related. So get ready to be informed, empowered, and inspired as we navigate the diverse and ever-evolving landscape of womanhood. So grab your headphones, tune in, and let's embark on this incredible journey together. Welcome to the Ideas with Impact podcast. I'm your host, Alexandra Gamrat. Lisa is a transformation maven, a speaker, an international best-selling co-author, and an author of a book called Breath, Sensation, Words. Lisa creates exponential learning environment, and she invites you to shift your mindset, transform your relationship, and evolve your world. Lisa's work integrates your heart and head. Her methodology invites new perspectives by utilizing the power of breath, words, and the sensory cues in your body. She works with individuals who feel lost, alone, trapped, and misunderstood. Her program helps those who are stressed out, exhausted, and who find themselves sabotaging the relationship professionally and personally. Lisa has a way of taking people from where they are now to where they are meant to be. Through a journey of self-discovery, she helps individuals understand how their past does not define them, revealing the true essence. As a speaker, Lisa believes in creating engagement with her audience. Her intention: create inclusive, experiential conversation where the audience has the potential to shift, transform, and evolve their current perspective. Hello, Lisa. How are you?
I'm excellent, Alexandra. So nice to see you again.
Thank you. I'm so glad you said yes to my podcast. I'm super excited. Yes. So let's get to it. I'm, again, looking forward to hear everything about your journey and your business. So tell me a bit about yourself and your background.
So my background, I've always been in the field of communications. I started off as a communication specialist working in public relations. Then I got into facilitation. And then in 2009, I started coaching. I've been on my own since 2001. So I've been a consultant or an entrepreneur since 2001, incorporating all of those things throughout my career. So the communications, the facilitation, the coaching, it all sort of came together with the coaching. And then within the coaching, I realized about in 2018, because I was working in organizations and with people individually, the whole notion of leader kept coming up. And because my background is communications, words are my superpower. Mm-hmm. And recognizing the vibrations that words hold internally, when we speak to ourselves internally and when we speak to ourselves externally. And when you consider the words like leadership, mm-hmm. there's only ever one captain on a ship. So when you think of leadership, relationship, partnership, it's like looking at the pattern of who's leading, who's in the lead. And that's when I came up with the whole notion of leader self as the invitation for us to lead ourselves differently, mm-hmm. and then become the invitation for others. And, using the breath work that I use in my work and helping people to identify the sensory cues in the body, that all came together within the last few years.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting though, right? It's like going from this into finding out this kind of niche of really digging in and finding out what really is there for us as human beings, right? Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And, as
'Cause we
much
get stuck. Like we get so stuck in our own mindsets that we forget about the other part of, who we are and how we can go into our own business or leadership or anything like that, right? So, yeah.
exactly, exactly. And when that happens, when you become internally referenced and you begin choosing from that place, your life changes.
Yeah. So, what were the biggest, so when you were switching from communication into your own business, what were your bigger challenges?
At the time, I was really lucky. I was fortunate. At the time, one of the government departments, HRSDC at the time, was offering a self-employment business program, and I applied and I got in. And so they kind of mentored you for the first year of business. So I was really fortunate to be able to have experts at my disposal to help me get all my processes in place and, thinking about how to run a business. And then from there, it was just kind of, leap
Mhm.
and following my intuition along the
Right.
way
So was
as well.
that still that you were still working for the government, or was this something in between, like a transition that you went through?
Oh no, this was completely different. This
Oh,
was
those.
I had been working at Nortel, and then
Okay.
the whole meltdown happened, and then I decided,
Yeah.
"Oh, let me try this consulting thing." And then I applied for the program, got
Oh, I
into the
see. Yes, yes.
program, and I haven't looked back since.
Oh, wow. Wow. Congratulations. That's absolutely amazing, right?
Yeah,
Wow.
so it's been over 20 years and I'm still here, so I've got to be doing
Yeah.
something right.
That's amazing. So tell me if you can share something that's so memorable from your coaching when you switch from working with Nortel to the coaching business. What's your most memorable success story that you're
Oh,
proud
it's interesting you say that because, every client is different. And, the success of them, my success is watching them evolve into who they have the potential to become that they didn't even recognize.
of? Mhm.
To see them coming home to themselves, and each one does that differently. And so, for me, the biggest success is always watching them become aware of what's possible for them, and that they have choice, that they can dream and their dreams can come true, and then seeing how quickly it happens in their
Mm,
life. So they're one day their life is looking like this, and then the next day their life is looking like this. And
yeah,
that to me, it's such an honor to watch people come home to themselves and then have
mm,
their lives transform outside of that.
yeah, that's amazing, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you stay motivated in your work? What motivates you to keep
Hmm.
going?
It's an interesting question. I think there's an inner drive, an impulse inside of me to engage in these types of conversations. So every time I'm in what I call an evolutionary conversation, that motivates me to keep going, because every conversation is an invitation for me to discover
Yes.
something about myself, and in that, knowing I'm also helping somebody else.
Yeah.
Right. And so the motivation is because I've had moments, when things were slow or whatnot, where I thought, oh, maybe I should go and get a job.
Yep.
And every time I think about doing something like that, my whole body just, it's a huge no. Like I know that would be the thing that kills me. Right.
Yes.
And so I pay attention to my sensory cues, to my
Yeah.
body, how my
You
body
just, I
reacts.
think, nailed it. You just nailed that nail on the head, because I think, again, it's going back into us not being aligned or us not listening to our intuition, to ourselves, that this is what we need to do, right?
Absolutely. And,
Yeah.
I also have a really good community that surrounds me.
Mhm.
I have really good friends and mentors who, when I'm veering off track, that I can talk to, or that will say to me, "Hey, Lisa, you said you wanted to go right and you're going left," kind of thing.
Yeah.
So having a really good community and support system has been so important for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. So I heard that you have a beautiful book that people can actually purchase on Amazon. Can you?
Absolutely. And I happen to have a copy right here. This is it.
Yes.
It's called Breath, Sensations, Words. I
Yeah.
published it last January, so it's coming up on a year that
Nice.
it's been published. And yeah, uh, that was quite the experience
Yeah. Can you
to
tell me about the book and how did you go about writing it? What inspired you to write the book?
Yeah, of course. So for many years, people had been saying to me, "Oh, Lisa, when are you going to write a book? When are you going to write a book?" And I kept saying, "What am I going to write about? I don't have anything to say, right? What can I
Yeah.
possibly have to say?" And then about 2 years ago, a friend of mine, who's been a great supporter and he's become my team coordinator, said to me, "Hey, Lisa, I want to help you." And he basically took over sort of my social media.
Mhm.
And by doing that, because he's like, "There's the book is ready to be written." And actually, let me back up a little bit. I had written a chapter in a book through a program that I was in. And
Okay.
in writing the chapter, I realized, oh, like I did that. That was kind of easy. And
Mhm.
then the thought occurred to me going, maybe I can write a book if I could write this chapter. And that kind of got the ball rolling. And then he came on board, took over my social, which gave me the time because
Yeah.
I really needed anywhere from 2 to 6 to 7 to 8 hours a day to write. And it took me almost a year to, plan out the book and then write the book and get it edited and all of that. So it was a year long process for me to get all those thoughts together, to come together in the writing of the book. And it really is a foundational piece for me to help people understand a little bit about my business and to start them on their own journey so they can
Mhm.
use it with any modality. And it's written in a way that they can keep going back to it again and again and again in as part of their own evolutionary process.
Oh, that's amazing. So where can people purchase it? Can they purchase it at the chapters or is it just on Amazon?
It's online on Amazon. I've got global distribution, so anyone from anywhere can pretty much can order it, and it's print on demand, so they can order one or they can order 10
Oh, nice.
copies, and it's print on demand. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh my goodness. So what else can you tell me about the book in terms of what kind of steps can they take, for example? Just give me one example of,
All right.
let's say I come in and I want to read the book and I'll be like, okay, what can I learn from this book?
So the sorry, the book is broken down into three sections: words, sensations, and breath, sensations, and words. And so
Oh,
the first part of the book is about breath, and it introduces the reader to what I call the four elemental breaths: earth, air, water, and fire. And so it goes into detail about the breaths, how to do the breaths, what they signify in terms of how they help move information.
mhm,
And then it moves into sensations, and that's introducing the reader to the sensory cues in the body. So, what happens? All these things, we tend to numb ourselves to what's going on. And so, it's an invitation to begin to pay attention to the tingling sensations, feeling hot, feeling cold, muscle spasms, like all these things that happen is information. And then it combines how to use the breath that they read in the first section to begin to notice and begin to have insights. And then the last section is of on words, and it looks at the everyday words that we use that either contract or have a contraction or expansion experience in the body. And so there are the words like try, or, and but.
Mm,
Those are words that we use all the time. We don't even think about it. And yet,
yeah.
when you begin to pay attention, when we use the word, say, or, for example, it puts us in a binary state. And it can feel constricting because there's only
Yeah.
so much I can move when I use the word or. And so if
Yeah.
you switch out the word or to and, you've now created more space
Yeah.
in your body.
Every word has a vibration, right?
Yes. And every word vibrates differently inside of each person. And
Mm,
so as someone goes through the book, there are exercises that they can do or reflections at the end of each chapter. And it's an invitation for people to change the conversation inside themselves so that they can have a different conversation with people in their world outside of themselves.
mm. Yeah. I love the word that you use, invitation. I love it.
Yeah, it is. Nothing is a command performance. Everything is always an invitation. And
Yeah.
in the book, I stress that. When I ask questions in the book or ask people to reflect on something, it's always just an invitation. They have
Yeah.
the option to say yes or no.
Yeah, and the breath as well, right? Coming together as one, combining. And I remember in my journey too, where I would use certain words that, like you said, they but all the time, but this and this and this, right? So changing that concept of the but word into the and, or even removing the if, because I find the if, there was a lot of ifs in my life too. And I
Right.
find it removing that itself, it really changed everything for
It,
me personally.
it does. And it's to become aware and
Mm,
mindful of it, right? And so when you begin to pay attention to, oh, I keep repeating these words and my
mm,
life is going in this direction, and simply, like you said, changing one word, going from if to something else, or taking it out of your vocabulary for a little while, it forces you, or it invites you to make a different choice
yeah,
in what
absolutely. I
you
agree.
express. Mhm.
Absolutely. It's just we have to become aware. If we
Yes.
don't, then it's not. So I think this book would have been amazing for people to, when they find these things, that they're asking questions, I think this book would be absolutely amazing for them to look into and actually really learn these things, right?
Absolutely. And what you just said there is so cool about, the asking questions. It is about curiosity.
Yeah.
How curious are you to discover something that you didn't know about yourself?
Yeah. And it's
That's
never too late to learn, right?
always never too late to learn. Absolutely. We don't realize how much we live our life in habit.
Yeah.
And just by changing or shifting one thing, you realize, oh my goodness, there's another potential that I didn't
Oh,
even
yeah.
know was there.
Oh, I absolutely agree with you. With my phone, for example, what I do, how you organize in your I'm not sure if you have iPhone or not, but I organize everything into these uh, like a shelvings, but I switch them around on my phone so that way I don't automatically know where they are. So like once a month I go in and I just switch them around all over the place. So that way my brain is like, oh, it's not here, it's moved. So it's like constantly moving
Right.
around.
Right. And that keeps you alert, right?
Yeah,
So take that concept and now
yeah,
bring it into, other parts of your life. Like you say,
yeah,
the words that we use, or pay attention to the routines that we do every day when you get up
yeah,
in the morning, switch things around in terms of what you do in the morning. Like all of these things helps us to break out of those deeply entrenched patterns that we
yeah.
create for
Yeah,
ourselves.
because it's so easy to fall into that. And I think in the past, looking again at myself, I know that I was one of those people. You get up in the morning, you deal with the kids, you get them to school, and it was just a constant same thing, same thing, same routine. So yeah, so I can relate to that for sure.
Right. So yeah, how do I keep my life
Yeah,
um moving in a way that keeps it vibrant and
Yeah.
keeps it moving as opposed to sort of standing still. I think when we get bored with our life and when we become disgruntled with our life, it's often because we're stuck in a rut because we're
Yeah.
doing the same
Absolutely.
thing all the time.
Hmm. Yeah, it's amazing to have your mind change, or actually it's that curiosity. I think you always say that being curious is it's the I don't want to say goal, but it's something that it's like that spark. Well, I'm curious. Let's look at that.
Right. It's the
Open your
gateway.
eyes. Mhm.
Curiosity is a gateway to something
Yeah,
different.
yeah.
And when you have the same conversations all the time and you hear the same things all the time, the invitation to get curious about, oh, well, what if we didn't have the conversation this way this time? What if I engage this conversation differently to see what will
Mhm.
happen? Right. And
Yeah.
it's that going into the unknown. As much as we hate change, change is absolutely necessary for us to evolve.
So how would you motivate someone? Let's say you have a client and someone is not really motivated, but they're like, I want to try this because I kind of feel like I need to change, but I don't know. How would you motivate that person?
Well, you see, and this is the beautiful thing about the work that I do.
Mhm.
It's not my job to motivate anybody. It is around awakening that curiosity inside of them. I find that the people that are attracted to work with me have reached a point in their life where they want to change, where it's something they know they need to do something. They tried other things and nothing has worked, and they come to me, and because what I'm basically doing is helping them to rewire themselves. And so it starts with them discovering the the undercurrents driving our behavior. And so I
Mhm.
developed a model where you get to discover, you know, whether you're in your body, so we disembody, we leave, whether
Mhm.
you're in your head all the time, which I call cerebral, and aware. So there are these three states that we cycle through all the time. And to become aware of when I'm in a conversation, am I in here? Am I in my head? Or am I aware of something and I just don't know how to shift it? And so helping them to get to that aligned state, and that involves breath, and it involves becoming aware of what's going on in the body. And so the motivation comes from their impulse to change their life. That's what's
Mhm.
important.
Wow, that's beautiful, man. Love it. It's always trying, for me, it's when I went through my stage, I was in my head. I know I was, and I think a lot of us are in our heads. But going through this process, like you said, the breath work, the connection, the words that we say, it changes your path completely. And I am so grateful for this, that I am open to the possibilities that are out there. Having these
Yes.
conversation, beautiful conversations like I'm having with you right now, it's absolutely so valuable for me.
Absolutely. I know that every single person that comes into my world is an aspect of me. And
Mhm.
I have a very strong intellect. And our intellects are our defenders and protectors, as well as our punishers. Right. And so, it rises to the occasion to defend and protect, but then it also, from our internal conversations, will punish us in how we speak to ourselves. And so the process of becoming aware of that, and the process of knowing I am not my thoughts. My thoughts are just my thoughts, and I have the power to shift my thoughts, which
To change
then
that. Yeah.
changes my life.
Right.
Right. And so it really is, it's a beautiful journey. And, throughout my coaching career, um, and my own personal experiences, that has fueled sort of the next people that come into my world. And so in 2024, I'm actually going to be focusing on working with women and couples who are going through their second or more IVF process,
Hmm.
because that's something that I've been through, and I know how hard that can be on someone, a woman going through it, and then as a couple going through that process multiple times. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
I use my own life experience to be able to help others through their life experiences.
Oh, that's amazing. You're right. There's a lot of couples out there who are having a hard time. So, yeah. Can you share a little bit more about the project for that you're creating for 2024?
Yeah, so I'm developing a pilot that I'll be putting out in 2024, where I'm looking for anywhere between 3 to 8 women and or couples that are willing to work with me for 4 to 6 months as they're going through the process, so that we can look at their patterns of behavior. We can look at how they're speaking to themselves. We can look at what's going on with the women with their bodies, right? So it's like when I was going through the process, it was a very insular process. I didn't share it with anyone. And there are a lot of groups out there, like there are lots of Facebook support groups and things like that for people. And I found that I didn't find one that was a guided, facilitated process,
Hmm.
that helps the women and helps their partners to understand what's going on, why they're thinking what they're thinking, why they're not sharing what they're sharing or not sharing with each other, so that that bond that they have can sustain the process,
Mm.
right? Without having to sacrifice any part of themselves. And so yeah, so it's a 4 to 6 month process
Okay.
where we would meet individually and as part of the group, so that they can move through it in a way where they don't lose themselves to the process, because it's
Mm.
so easy to get
Yeah.
lost in that
Yeah.
process.
It's hard too, right? It depends on the individual. It's more of an emotional part of it. I know someone who is trying second time going through the IV um, process, and actually they're going today. They're heading out to Montreal because there's only one clinic in Montreal, I guess, that people have to go from around here.
Mhm.
And yeah, they're trying it for the third
Yeah,
time.
and again, we tend to not talk about it. And so keeping all of
Yeah,
that inside of you, it takes a toll
yeah.
on the process. And so that's what I really want to help those women and couples know, that there is a different way that they can move through it. And I've actually worked with 2 couples, friends of mine, who went through it and asked if I would, sort of coach them through it. And there was, it was amazing. It was amazing where they landed at the end. Both of
Oh,
them were
wow.
able to get pregnant, and yeah, and stayed in that really well connected space with each other.
Wow. That is absolutely amazing. I think a lot of women do need that support. And I think we're going through that stage in on this earth where everything used to be hush hush and you keep it to yourself and you don't share with people. I think now coming out and letting go of those emotions, it's so important, right?
I absolutely, because
Yeah.
especially with this, I mean, it can apply to a lot of different processes. I
Mm.
find, because I went through the IVF process, the thinking pattern of my body's betrayed me because it
Mm.
won't do what I want it to do. So how we think of ourselves as women in that process, that I need help to do something that my body is designed to do
That should be done
naturally,
so naturally, right?
right? So that then plays into our self-worth in that, and then how we feel about ourselves in relationship with our partners to
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a lot that goes on under the surface that sometimes we're not even aware is going on under the surface, which is impacting the process itself.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. That's I think is going to be a beautiful work that you're going to do. Because there's so many couple out there or women itself that they need that kind of help. So this is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, and it's happening more and more with even younger couples, right? It's not even to
Yeah.
say it's the older couples. A lot of
Yeah.
younger women are having issues as well. And so, yeah, I'm hoping that this work will be impactful for the
Yeah.
women and couples out there.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So we'll definitely post a link to that down below and in the comments, so
Yeah.
people can reach you if they're interested to definitely um, be connected with that kind of work. So yeah, for
Yeah, and
sure.
absolutely. And I find even if they don't connect with me, connect with somebody.
Yeah,
Right?
because it's
You
so
know,
important to talk about it. Yeah,
it
absolutely.
is. It is. And at the very least buy my book so that then they can
Well, at least it
begin.
starts, right? At least you plant the seed.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes, exactly. So yeah, so for me, it's always about evolution, and it's always
yeah.
about coming back to ourselves, coming home to ourselves. And
Mm,
you asked me earlier what keeps me motivated, and this is it, right? These conversations, like what I'm having with you right now, like I feel so alive and lit up inside of me,
yeah,
right? This is what keeps me going.
that's beautiful. Yeah. So moving forward, what are your future goals?
Well, it's really fascinating. I tend to live so much now in the present moment, and I know I have to plan because I have to plan my programs and working with my clients and things like that. My future goal, actually, I've been doing a lot of speaking in the last few years, and so one of my future goals is to do more speaking events. And so I'm always looking for opportunities to be on podcasts and to do conferences and things like that. So that would be one of the things that I'm also pursuing, and really helping as many people as I can uh, with whatever time I have left, right? So it is running my programs and hopefully in the future being able to do online and then retreats. So having like cohorts in specific areas. So a cohort, say maybe in England or Australia or New Zealand, and running something for like 3 or 4 months online, and then having a physical in-person retreat then
Yeah.
afterwards. So those are the things that I'm working on for the future.
Ah, that's beautiful. And how can people reach you and connect with you?
Well, the easiest way is through my website, lisajweiss.com. They can just put lisajweiss.com in, and they can go to my website, and they can find out a little bit more about me and the programs that I offer and the coaching that I offer. And they can also connect with me through there. I'm also on Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook, so they can absolutely follow me, send me DMs, get to know me. I've got tons of videos up on YouTube and on TikTok on all different kinds of subjects. And so if they're looking to have a different perspective on something, those are the places to go that they can connect with me and learn more.
Amazing. I'll definitely have those linked up on the bottom
Mhm.
of our podcast. And yeah, anything else, Lisa, you would like to share with us?
Uh, I think, as you had mentioned, where the world is now and where we're going, and there's a lot going on in the world right now. And I think people are really struggling with coping with everything that's going on inside of them as they bear witness to what's going on out in the world. And uh, coming home to ourselves, becoming aware of what our bodies are trying to tell us is so important. And you'll notice that there's a lot of organizations now looking at breath work and somatic work and, and trauma and all of this. And it's not an either or, it's an and. And so I really want to encourage people to go and talk to somebody, connect with me, or someone where you can have a different conversation where you can learn more about yourself. We've become lost, I think, to ourselves. And this is about coming home so that we
Rediscovering.
can create a
Yeah.
different world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Amazing. Thank you, Lisa, so much for your time. I appreciate every minute of it, and have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the invitation, Alexandra. I really appreciate the conversation.
You're welcome.